Il Galateo. The word Galateo comes from the title of a 16th century book, Il Galateo, ovvero de costumi, Galateo, or of manners, by Giovanni della Casa. The book was a guide to polite behavior. It taught people how to dress, eat, and talk properly. Il Galateo established itself as the guide to etiquette par excellence. So Galateo became the name of the thing itself, that is, etiquette. The Galateo prescribes a certain level of formality. So if we want to say good manners in a more general sense, such as saying grazie and prego in everyday life, we say buona educazione. There are a lot of rules when it comes to Galateo. So let's just focus on the ones that may be the most useful to you. Forms of address. Learning when to use the informal pronoun tu and the formal lei can be tough, especially for beginners. Now, there's a general rule that we use tu with children, family members, friends, colleagues, and people we know well or very well. And we use lei with people we don't know, especially elderly people. But it's not always that simple. For example, how do you address a professor whom you've taken classes with and who has become a mentor and maybe a friend? It depends. When in doubt, it's better to err on the side of formality and use lei. Keep in mind that Italian culture is more formal than US culture when it comes to the relationship between professors and students. Also, remember that not all Italians use the correct forms of address all the time. Some customers have the terrible habit of using tu to address people who are serving them, like waiters, shop assistants, and so on. Well, that is a habit you should not pick up. It's rude and classist. Unless it's an informal setting and the other person is addressing you with tu, you should use lei. And now table manners. This is perhaps the very first thing that comes to mind when we say Galateo. Here's a simple tutorial on how to set the table according to the Galateo. The soup plate goes on top of the dinner plate. Then we have cutlery. The fork goes on the left. The knife goes on the right, with the blade facing the plate. The spoon goes on the right of the knife. In general, if there's more than one fork or knife, they're laid out in the order in which they're used. The ones you would use for an appetizer go on the far left or far right, respectively, and the ones you would use for the last course are next to the plate. The napkin goes on the left of the fork, or forks. Dessert cutlery is placed at the top of your plate, with the cake fork facing right and the dessert spoon facing left. Now glasses. Glasses are placed at the top, on the right of the plate, and they're laid out diagonally. The water glass first, then the glass for the red wine, and finally the glass for the white wine. The champagne glass goes next to the others on the right. The bread plate, finally, goes at the top, on the left of the main plate. And now let's do it again in Italian. Il piatto da primo, o piatto fondo, va sopra il piatto da secondo, detto anche piatto piano. Poi ci sono le posate. La forchetta va a sinistra del piatto. Il coltello va a destra, con la lama rivolta verso il piatto. Il cucchiaio va a destra del coltello. In generale, se ci sono più forchette o coltelli, questi sono disposti nell'ordine in cui si usano. Quelli per l'antipasto vanno all'estrema sinistra o destra del piatto, rispettivamente, e quelli che si usano per ultimi sono i più vicini al piatto. Il tovagliolo va a sinistra della forchetta o delle forchette. Le posate da dolce vanno in alto, con la forchetta da dolce rivolta a destra e il cucchiaio da dolce rivolto a sinistra. I bicchieri vanno in alto, a destra del piatto, e sono allineati in diagonale. Prima il bicchiere per l'acqua, poi quello per il vino rosso e infine quello per il vino bianco. Il calice da champagne o flûte va accanto agli altri, un po' a destra. Infine, il piattino per il pane va in alto, a sinistra del piatto. Did you know that there's a whole language associated with cutlery? You can say a lot of things. For example, I'm taking a break, faccio una pausa. Or, I'm done, finito. Or, that was excellent, era ottimo. Or, that was awful, faceva schifo. And then there's la scarpetta. Scarpetta literally means little shoe. Fare la scarpetta means to take a piece of bread and dipping it into whatever is left in the plate, usually some sauce. Is it acceptable according to the Galateo? Well, it may not be the most elegant thing to do, but it is commonly accepted. So don't worry. Don't let that delicious tomato sauce go to waste and fai la scarpetta. And now clothes. Everybody should be free to wear whatever they want, as long as they feel mentally and physically comfortable. However, casual can mean very different things in different cultures. The Italian casual style tends to be a little more formal than US American casual. Unless you're going to the beach or to the gym, or you're deliberately making a fashion statement, very casual sportswear, such as flip-flops, gym clothes, slippers, is too casual to be worn in public in Italy. In particular, if you go to Italy as an exchange student, it's not a good idea to wear gym clothes to go to class. It's not just that the relationship between teachers and students is a little more formal in Italy than it is in the US, but it's also that many universities are located in beautiful centuries-old buildings from the late Middle Ages or the Renaissance, so there's a level of respect for the place itself that goes into how you dress. And there's no need to go to the other extreme. Less is more, even in Italy, but less means at least a pair of sneakers, jeans, and a clean t-shirt. There's a common opinion, maybe a stereotype, that Italians are always late to everything. Well, that is true. Well, I'm just kidding. It's not always true. However, there is a higher degree of tolerance for occasional lateness in Italian culture. If you're invited to dinner, coffee, or drinks with a friend, they probably won't be too upset if you show up 10 minutes late. But if you send them a text to let them know that you're running late, they will appreciate it. Being late may be fashionable, but don't overdo it. And here are some useful expressions. To say that someone is well-mannered and knows how to behave, we say educato or educata, or ben educata, ben educato. Note that this is a false friend. It doesn't mean educated. It just means well-mannered. To say that something is a nice, polite thing to do, we say si fa. It's done. It should be done. The opposite is non si fa. It's not done. Or we can say è buona educazione. For example, è buona educazione spegnere il cellulare quando si è a pranzo o a cena. It's good manners to turn off your phone while having lunch or dinner. Then there's a whole number of idiomatic words to describe someone who is not polite. The most common one is maleducato or maleducata. And then there's cafone or cafona. This one is a bit stronger. Also, Italians use the word gaffe to say faux pas. It's a French word, just like faux pas. Fare una gaffe means to commit a faux pas. As I said, there are a lot of rules when it comes to the Galateo, and it's not even worth learning them all. Etiquette can turn into a very rigid, normative code of behavior, and that's not fun. But if you follow the few simple rules of Galateo we discussed in this presentation, you'll be fine, and you will avoid unpleasant faux pas, or gaffe.